All right, guys, what up? My name is Alex. I'm also known as Explorer. I'm a MMA bettor. I've been betting for a little while, and this is my friend Brandon, aka BBG.
Yo,
That's him right there. We're gonna be breaking down UFC 234 fight by fight with our picks and predictions. So we're just gonna get right into it. The first fight, I believe, is Wuliji Buren and Johnathan Martinez. Was that
yes,
correct?
sir.
That is it. All right. So basically, just to make it nice and short, Wuliji Buren is like pretty trash. Like I don't really see him having success anywhere in the UFC. If there was a fight where he might have success, this would probably be the one. But even then, I don't think it'll be enough to win 2 rounds. Probably. He has decent offensive wrestling. That is pretty much it. His hands aren't good. His cardio isn't great. Head movement non-existent. And on the other side, Johnathan Martinez, he is kind of in the same situation. He's not great, but I just think he's a little bit better everywhere in general. And if I had to pick one of them to win 2 rounds out of the three, because I don't see this being a finish, I'd probably pick Johnathan Martinez like more confidently to win 2 out of 3 rounds. And so I'm gonna go with Johnathan Martinez. What about you, BBG?
So, in this fight here, you did say it right. They're both really low end bantamweights here. Buren coming from like the Chinese scene, and Martinez, he's like a up and coming prospect kind of people look at him as. But they're both developing. That's why you'll see him here in the Fight Pass, of course. With Buren, he's really pressury actually. In his last fight, he was able to pressure his opponent, and he choked under the pressure. Really, he just kept it up and he pressed it. And Martinez, he's a grappler who likes to throw a lot of kicks, you know?
Uh-huh.
So he'll kick you and grapple with you. Uh, Success-wise, probably Martinez winning rounds with takedowns, mixing takedowns with kicks. That's how I'll see
Right.
it going.
So you're gonna go with Martinez?
Yes, Martinez.
All right. So what's the next fight?
Next fight is Jalin Turner and Callan Porter.
All right. So you can start us off on this one.
So Turner's really big for this weight class, and I don't know if many people know that. He's like
Yeah.
bigger than James Vick comparably, you know?
Yeah.
He's a good range striker. He's really long, and he has a lot of power in his shots, you know? He's seen people have dropped off of jabs from him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And with Porter here, he's a grappler. That's like his style, you know?
Potter, not Porter.
Yeah, Potter. Yes, you're right. So I can really tell you about Callan Potter. He's like a grappler. I do have Jalin Turner in this fight, though.
Yeah. So I'm on the same boat. I got Jalin Turner. Jalen's first fight in the UFC, he fought Vicente Luque at welterweight, and Vicente, he's not the best welterweight in the world, but he's looking to me like he will beat pretty much anyone not top 10, like handedly. Like that's kind of like how he's looking so far. And in those, man, like the 2 minutes of the fight, how long it lasted, like Jalen's like attempted 37 significant strikes like that fast.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and there was right before he got caught, he threw up a question mark kick that like it kind of hit Luque. Luque definitely didn't like it when it hit him, but like his foot speed is crazy. Like just his overall striking speed is crazy, and I don't know how good he'll be long term, but in this specific matchup against Callan Potter, Potter is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt as far as I've heard, and he has submission wins, so that worries me a little bit because I don't know about Turner on the ground. Turner's a purple belt, I believe, but Callan Potter, he's been finished 7 times on the regional scene.
Wow.
So I don't like with that just that statistic alone definitely does not want me I don't want to put my confidence in him really because Jalin I just feel like Jalen's size and speed I just think it's going to be too much physically for Potter. I don't see
I could
Potter.
definitely see that.
I don't see Potter landing takedowns with success. Maybe he gets one or two, depending on how long the fight goes. I think what's more likely and more realistic is that just the output of Jalin eventually catches Potter with something. And like I said, they're both basically like they're as new as you can get in the UFC. But this fight, I'm gonna lean Jalin this fight, and I probably say he finishes him just based on what I saw and what I've seen, just how much output he has. And I just think he might not be the best striker ever, but I'd say he's probably levels above Callan. And I'm gonna go with Jalin to win by I want to say TKO.
As do I. First round TKO win, definitely.
Yeah. So now we have Lando Vannata and Marcos Rosa. Lando is a big favorite in this, almost minus 400 on some sites. On some other sites, he's over minus 400. So Lando, he's had an interesting UFC career. He lost to Ferguson. That's like everyone loses to Ferguson, to be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Lost to Jakar Close. Jakar Close is very talented. He lost to David Tamer. Tamer's pretty talented. He had a draw with Matt Frivola. He had a draw with Bobby Green, and he's on. So what is he? 1-4, 1-5 in the UFC, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
His only win is John McDessie, and that was a crazy highlight. But that's, I mean, if you still think Vannata's extremely talented, like he showed in that one fight, I think you're living in the past because I haven't seen really anything but a gas tank issue and highlight reel kicks that don't land.
Absolutely.
In this matchup against Marcos Rosa, Marcos is 6-4 coming into this fight. That is not good. Period. So I'm gonna go Lando Vannata. I don't necessarily know if he should be a minus 400 because of how many times he's blown it. I don't see this going the distance based on both their gas tanks and like holes in their game. Marcos Rosa, the only reason he's actually on this card, believe it or not, is because Anderson Silva told the UFC to put him on. That's Anderson Silva's training partner and teammate.
Huh.
So I'm gonna say, okay. All I really have to say is there's a 6-4 guy getting a shot in the UFC only because he's friends with someone. Kind of reminds me of an Artem Lobov situation.
I can definitely see that.
Lando Vannata is not a great fighter, and honestly, at some point, I would bet money he gets cut from the UFC and goes to like Bellator or something like that. But Lando's fighting for his contract here. I can like almost guarantee you. He's fighting for his life, literally. So I'm gonna go with Lando, and I'm gonna say second round knockout. That's my prediction. What about you?
So with Rosa too, Rosa's like a kickboxer, like basically, right. He's fundamental striking and everything, but has zero ground game from like the film I've seen on him.
Uh-huh.
I can see Vannata really controlling this fight by mixing up strikes with takedowns. Mm-hmm. It's whether his gas tank can hold up if it's going to be a high pressure fight like that. Exactly. Whether he can hold Rosa down or if he's going to have to continually strike and take down.
That's why I don't like this minus 400.
Yeah, exactly. And it seems like the UFC definitely wants to try to get Vannata a win here.
Yep.
Because everyone's been high on Vannata ever since the Tony Ferguson loss. Even though it was a loss, it's one of the best fights like a newcomer in the UFC's looked against the second best lightweight in the division right now.
Exactly.
But as for prediction-wise, I'm definitely going Vannata. I can probably see like a TKO or submission second round.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be first.
Yeah.
All right, so we're both picking Vannata on that one.
Yeah. Yes.
The next fight rather is Teruto Ishihara versus Kyung Kang. So you can start us off with this one.
So both of these bantamweights are from Asia. There's a couple Asian fighters on this card, which is kind of surprising being only in Australia.
There's 3 or 4. There's 3, yeah.
Yeah, but who is it? Teruto, he's a Team Alpha Male product actually. And so Team Alpha Male, of course, is known for their wrestling and grappling, also cardio. He has good training partners over there, obviously. You can get in the room with Chad Mendez, Cody No Love,
Uriah.
all these people over there, exactly. And so what I've seen from him is that he's had an improved wrestling game and his grappling's improved somewhat too. But then you have Kang Kao, or however you pronounce his name. I'm going to say it
Young
wrong
Kang.
every
I'm gonna call
time.
him KK. We'll call him KK.
And he's a better grappler, a better wrestler, and a better striker than Teruto is, in my opinion, at least, from what I've seen. So in this fight overall, it's probably going to be a boring fight, to be honest. I see a lot of it going to the ground, and it's just grinding. I probably have Kang by decision. Yeah, I'll go Kang by decision.
Yeah, I like that pick, specifically the decision as well. I've seen. I didn't really have to do film for Teruto because I've seen actually most of his fights. Coincidentally, Kyung Kang, I think you nailed it. I just think he's a little bit better everywhere. I wouldn't be shocked to see him have a boring fight. He's known for his submissions, and Teruto, he backs up a lot, in my opinion. He backs up to the cage a lot.
He does, which is terrible for those takedowns.
That's just not a good. The only person I've ever seen do that and actually have it work is Tyron Woodley, and Tyron Woodley is literally in another solar system compared to this guy. So I'm gonna go Kyung Kang. I am not sure if he's gonna finish him. Teruto is not good, but Kyung Kang is not an all-star either. You know, Teruto could give. I'm gonna go Kyung Kang, probably by decision. I think you nailed it completely with that pick. And
yeah, absolutely. I don't see this being a very exciting fight at all.
Teruto probably gets cut if he loses, to be honest with you.
Yes, I agree.
All right, next fight: Kai Kara France versus Raulian Paiva. Right off the bat, I think about Kai Kara France's debut and his run on The Ultimate Fighter. He lost to Alejandro Perez. That's respectable.
Absolutely.
Kai Kara France, he's very, very high action. He throws a lot. He grapples a lot. He has really good scrambles. He gets in your face. His nickname is Don't Blink. I mean, he's extremely high action. He's going against Raulian Paiva, who's 18-1, with only 6 finishes out of his 18 wins, which is concerning because Kai Kara France probably has more output than him, and he's in Australia. So right off the bat, that's a little concerning. We don't know how good either of them are because Kai Kara France only had 1 fight and he didn't get a finish, and Raulian Paiva is 18-1, and he has some respectable wins. I don't know if you looked at his Sherdog or anything like that, but he has some good wins. So there's a little bit of backstory to this fight. I don't know if you knew this. I just learned this a little bit ago. So Raulian Paiva, I don't know how long ago this was, but basically he was with his girlfriend on a motorbike, and they were getting followed and harassed by a group of people in a car. And the people in the car hit the motorbike and actually killed his girlfriend. And so, I guess the story goes, or what happened is, his girlfriend's dad said, "If you want to honor her death, keep fighting." And if you're a person that likes backstories and comeback stories, and you want to bet Raulian to win this fight against a guy that's only 1-0 in the UFC, I can't blame you. I mean, Raulian looks decent. I just kind of worry that Kara is more action-based, and if he gets him out of that decision-making style that Raulian has, if he gets him out of that decision-fighting style, I'm probably going to lean Kai Kara if anyone's going to get a finish. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So with that backstory alone, I wish Raulian the best. I want to see him succeed just based off that story because that is a terrible loss to have in your life. But I am going to go Kai Kara France in this specific matchup. I think he's just a bit too much everywhere. I don't think he's light years better, but I think he has enough to win 2 rounds, and I think that's probably all it's going to take, especially in Australia. So I'm going to go Kai Kara France, probably by a high-action decision. What about you?
So with Kai Kara France, too, he's coming in riding a 6-fight win streak, which is pretty impressive. But this is one of these fights in the flyweight division where I think the loser gets cut probably. As we've seen with great fighters getting cut recently. Dustin Ortiz recently just got cut from the UFC, actually.
That's insane.
Yes. So I believe the loser of this fight will get cut and the winner will move up to the bantamweight division.
Yeah.
As it seems like they're thinning out the flyweights.
Yep, absolutely.
With Kara France, his style is very exciting to watch.
Yeah,
he can strike well, he can grapple, but there was so many opportunities where he went to finish his last fight, and he even got in some bad situations, Mm-hmm. So it's about capitalization here. I don't see anything where Kai Kara France should be like too worried about being like dominated here. But he needs to watch out and maybe take his time more here. I do see Kai Kara France winning, probably by unanimous decision.
Yeah, I'm going decision too. I wouldn't be like I said though. Like some of these fighters, like some of these fights were breaking down. Like some of these dudes are so green, or they're just so like they're not that great that like in theory, like really these betting lines almost don't even matter.
Exactly. Especially a Kai Kara France fighting so close to home, too. If it was even a close decision, I wouldn't be surprised if the judges gave him the nod.
Yeah. And this, like, Raulian Paiva is 18-1. He's never lost a decision. So that's like a big red flag. But, yeah. I'm just going to throw a little, like, disclaimer. These Australian fighters and these Aussie fighters, stuff like that, and New Zealand, stuff like that, I'm not really that high on any of them besides Israel and Whitaker. I'm just going to say that right now.
Yeah.
All right, start us off with the next fight.
So the next fight is Shane Young and Austin Arnett. And in this fight, Shane Young's, everyone's really high in Shane Young. Uh-huh. And I'm not really seeing it yet from, like, what I've seen. Of him. This is a good matchup for him, though. Austin Arnett is it's called Sick Jutsu, and he's a Sick Jutsu striker.
Yeah.
And I don't know much about that. So Shane Young's explosive though, and he's like Kyle. Like, he reminds me of Kyle Boshinak in some ways. That too reminds me of.
Yeah, he's crazy.
Yeah, he definitely is crazy. Arnett's pretty predictable on the feet, in my opinion. Lots of power shots get thrown. I see Shane Young winning this probably by decision.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is kind of a similar situation to the Kai Kara France fight, except Austin Arnett probably isn't as threatening as Raulian Paiva. So Shane Young, he is very aggressive. He's almost kind of like Kai Kara France. They're both aggressive. I think Shane grapples a little bit more. And Austin Arnett doesn't look that bad on the mat. Doesn't look great. Don't get me wrong. But I think with the 3 fights he's had, he's improved every single time. And Shane Young's only loss in the UFC is to Alexander Volkanovski. And then he beat Rolando Dye. I believe it was him. And I had Shane Young in an actual bet on that to win. So I'm glad he won. Austin Arnett is not great anywhere, really. Like you said, he trains at a camp called Sick Jitsu, and he strikes a lot. So that doesn't make sense to me. The thing is, when you have a lot of output, the more strikes you throw, the more chances you have to get countered.
Yeah.
And if you go into a wildfire or like a wild fight and stuff like that, like who's a good example I can give you? Okay, I actually don't really have an example, but what I'm trying to say is the crazier the fight is, the more outcomes can happen.
Yeah, exactly. I can
That's
see that.
basically what I'm trying to get at. And same thing with I said about Kai Kara. I like, yeah, him and Shane will probably win their fights, but I don't know if their style they're gonna last forever. Shane
Yeah,
Young,
man.
I'm gonna. Uh, I almost, I don't know. It's too risky to bet on Arnett or to even pick him. I'm gonna go Shane Young by decision. It's just too much output, I think, and as long as he doesn't get cracked, he's probably not gonna get submitted.
I
But
can see that.
Austin Arnett, a lot of people don't realize this. He's like quite a bit bigger than Shane Young.
He is.
That's kind of what I'm gonna go Shane Young probably by decision. I don't really think Austin Arnett has the output. Just like how Leon, like they're just too that they just don't do enough to win rounds against these kind of fighters. So I'm gonna go Shane Young. What's the next fight, BBG? Devonte and Dong Hyun.
Yes, Devonte and Dong Young.
All right, so I'm gonna start this one off. Devonte Smith against Dong Hyun Kim. Devonte Smith is 9-1. His only loss was against John Gunther.
Possibly the worst fighter I've ever seen.
Possibly one of the worst fighters I've ever seen, but somehow he had like an undefeated record at one point. But I think that just goes to show how bad regional fighters are. Devonte Smith, since that loss, I think he's had like a handful of minutes of actual fight time because he's finished everyone so fast.
Yep. He had a round 4 stoppage by TKO. This is his longest fight since.
Yeah, and then his UFC fight was about a minute long against Julian Erosa, someone that is just completely not good. So I watched that fight live and I rewatched it, and Devontae's hands look solid. He definitely has power and he's definitely fast. And I can only imagine since that Gunther loss that he has worked on his cardio and his grappling. And he should be able to outstrike Dong Hyun Kim over the course of 3 rounds. It's just whether or not Dong Hyun Kim can get him to the mat and start working his BJJ and like pressure with his wrestling. I'm gonna say the most likely outcome is that a lot of it is striking. If they fought 100 times, I'd probably say Devonte wins more than 51. Dong Hyun Kim, he is not great. He's like not bad. He's not great. His striking is probably not on the same level as Devonte. He's probably a better grappler overall. He's on a 3-fight win streak, so that's like good. But the thing is, in those 3 wins, 2 of them were decisions. One was a knockout win against Takanori Gomi. I don't think he's going to knock out Devonte Smith.
Absolutely not.
And then one of the decisions, he didn't even get a takedown, and that he's not going to win like that. He got knocked out in 2 fights back to back before that 3-fight win streak, and these wins just don't look impressive to me. So I am going to go Devonte Smith. I question Devonte's cardio like a lot, but I'm going to say that I don't want to say he probably finishes him, but I would say a very realistic outcome is that in the first or second round, he hits him with something, backs him down, and just finishes him probably. So I'm gonna go Devonte Smith by TKO, and I'm gonna go round 1.
Yeah.
What about you?
So The thing with Ma too is after those 2 devastating TKO losses he took, he's changed his style a bit too. He's falling in love with his jab. Basically, he jabs a lot. He loves circling. He circles and jabs, circles and jabs, circles and jabs. And he's a slow-paced fighter now. You know, he's changing so he's not getting into many exchange. He's fighting from the outside, but he cannot keep it standing with Smith here. He just can't.
Not at all.
He needs to be able to take him down. But Devonte Smith's not the type of person, if you do take him down, to be held down there forever. He's so much more athletic than Ma.
A lot longer.
It's just a lot longer. I think Dong Ma gets obliterated on the feet, to be honest, and is going to be hoping for a takedown. I have Devonte Smith winning by round 1 KO.
Yeah, we're on the same boat there. Next fight, Jim Crute, Sam Alvey. We're on the main card now. This is where me and BBG tend to succeed. So you can start it off.
Absolutely. So this is one of the bigger toss-up fights in my mind on this card. Because Jimmy Crute is I don't even know. It's like a weird style. He recently fought Paul Craig, and he pretty much won that fight because he wasn't as gassed as Paul Craig at the end of the fight.
Yeah.
His gas tank held up a little better. Crute does have some power in his hands though.
Absolutely.
That's the thing. And Alvey did recently get knocked out for one of the first times by Nogueira, which was very odd to see. Very, very odd. But in this type of fight, Sam Alvey has the type of style where he forces his opponents into slow brawls. You know what I mean? He'll have a slow pace and come in and brawl, slow pace, brawl. And it's one of those things where I think Alvey can get a win here over Crute because of Crute's inexperience, basically. So I'm going to go Sam Alvey here, TKO round 1.
TKO round 1? That's all right.
Yes.
Sam Alvey has power. People forget. It's
big power. And this is him coming up to light heavyweight.
He's got that dad strength, you know?
Yeah.
So I like Jim Crute. He seemed like a entertaining guy, funny, young. In terms of him inside of a cage actually fighting, the win he got over Paul Craig, it was a submission, so that makes it a little bit better because that's Paul's thing. But
yeah,
the fact that he wasn't giving Paul any trouble on the feet concerns me. Sam Alvey, I feel like this is the kind of guy Sam Alvey will beat. But at this stage in Alvey's career, I'm not entirely sure he will. He might have enough gas in the tank for 1 or 2 more wins, probably, I would say. If Jim gets this to the mat, I honestly think he'll have a hard time holding it down. I could totally be wrong. Sam is hard to hold down. He has 84 or 82% takedown defense rate. I don't think has he ever been submitted? I haven't seen him get submitted in a while.
I don't think so either. And he's harder to take down than his last opponent was too in Paul Craig.
Abs. Paul almost wants it to go to the mat, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I was on Jimmy Crute. I just don't see how he wins this fight if he doesn't hurt Sam.
Absolutely.
I think Jimmy's cardio, I have to assume it got better. I have to assume he has a different game plan because this is probably not going to be a grappling fight. Grappling, as we all know, takes way more energy to do. Sam did not look good his last fight. I don't think Sam does well with the pressure, like pocket boxing.
Yeah.
I think he's just jab, jab, circle, low kick, jab, jab, circle. He has decent kicks. He it's like a low calf kick, but it's not hard. It just makes a loud noise.
Sam Alvey wins fights when people fight to his style. If it doesn't happen that way, Jimmy Crute wins this fight.
Exactly. So I have to think Jimmy. I mean, if we think that I have to think Jimmy and his camp think that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, I have to think that Jimmy is just going to get in his face the whole fight. And if he does that, he's probably going to win the fight. If he circles and gets stuffed on takedowns every now and then, circles and gets tired, Sam Alvey all day. If Jimmy Crute pressures him, I think he can knock him out. I think Sam's chin is almost gone.
Yeah.
But
well, we've seen Sam Alvey take big punches back in his previous fights. It's really just that little Nog fight that's that one, example of that.
I think Jimmy hits way harder than Sam. If he hits him, it's going to be extreme. Jimmy is a big dude. Not only is he big, he's like almost all muscle.
Yeah.
And he's young. He's faster and stronger. Sam Alvey's probably better technically everywhere on the ground, or everywhere except the ground, rather. I'm looking at the betting lines right now. Jimmy Crute's a slight favorite. It's actually projected to go to a decision. I don't know if I agree with that. It says Alvey's more likely to win by a knockout than Crute. But as we know with Vegas, that Vegas is not always right. I am going to go. I want to say Jimmy, and I kind of want to say Sam. But I'm going to play the odds on this one. I'm going to go with Jimmy because I think that it's hard for me to assume that he's actually a fighter with good IQ. But I have to assume his cardio got better. I have to assume he went back to his coaches and said, all right, this is what I did wrong. This is what I didn't do wrong. And I think Jimmy's going to get this one. I think he's going to finish him. But if he doesn't get in his face, I think Alvey is going to win this. But I am going to pick Jimmy Crute.
Do you ever win it by decision, TKO?
Pick a method. I'm going to say... I am going to say TKO, ground and pound.
Okay.
Then we have Montana De La Rosa versus Nadia Kassem. I'm going to start this one off. Montana is an interesting case to me. She's a minus 250. And she's a good wrestler with even better BJJ, in my opinion. She has very good... If she gets in a top position at any point in this fight, it's live to be over that round, probably.
Yeah.
And Nadia Kassem is 4-0, and I'm almost 100% sure all four of her opponents, none of them have a professional win. So that doesn't really give me anything. Montana's 2-0 in the UFC with 2 submissions. And like I said, she's a good grappler, but she hasn't even landed a takedown yet. So I'm concerned that if Nadia doesn't engage the grappling, if she'll even go to the mat with her, if Montana can get her to the mat. I have to assume Montana can get her to the mat, especially because Nadia is coming up a weight class and is smaller. She's smaller in general. So I think this is pretty simple. I don't think Nadia is a good striker. I don't think Montana is a good striker. But Montana's more aggressive. Montana has takedown upside. Montana has grappling upside, submission upside. The most realistic outcome, in my opinion, is that Montana wins by submission, probably in the first or second round. So I'm going to go Montana to win by submission, and I'm actually going to pick round 1.
Okay.
What are you?
So both of these women are extremely young, too. It's another thing. So we can expect them to be around for probably a while and progress their games and watch them grow.
Definitely.
Montana is also the only fighter. She's like the only married couple in like the UFC, her and her husband, Mark De La Rosa. Fun fact. But with this, you are right. I don't see Montana striking to be very good. But every time I see her step in, I see it to be improved. And with her being the longer striker too, I can see that giving Nadia some problems.
That jab. Yeah.
Yeah. And the grappling, I don't even think it's close,
No.
Montana doesn't have any college wrestling experience, but she's a high accolade high school wrestler.
Mhm.
So it's about implementing her game plan. I think she can beat Nadia anywhere this fight goes, really.
Hmm.
But it's a woman fight as well, so you never know how this plays out and how it's going to happen. Montana is the much bigger fighter here, though. Much bigger. Bigger, longer, taller. So I'm going to go with De La Rosa here. I'm going to go by a second round submission.
Second round. All right. Now, in my opinion, this next fight is the most interesting fight of the night in terms of the coin flip kind of prediction that everyone's going to have.
Yeah.
Because we got Ronnie Yahya and Ricky Simone, and we got a BJJ guy and a wrestler, and both of them aren't good at striking. So I'm going to let you start off with this one.
So the way you can look at Ronnie Yahya, he's like the smaller version of Damian Maya, He has great accolades in grappling. He's an ADDC gold medalist. And he's won 7 of his last 8 UFC fights with 3 consecutive submissions.
Yep.
But the thing is here, like Damian Maya, when you go back and look at Ronnie Yahya's losses, they're against powerful guys who have a base in wrestling. Now, I'm not saying Ricky Simone's the best wrestler by any means in this division.
Mm-hmm.
But watching previous fights, even against the cage, he has good grappling defense. And even better offense grappling offensively. He won't want to take Yahya down in this fight, though.
No, definitely.
It's going to be a lot like the problem I see Yahya having here is whether he can take Simone down, Because how is he going to be on the feet? Is Yahya going to keep on going for these takedowns, or after a while he's going to try to keep it standing maybe? And Simone, I know he can defend the first takedown at least, but it's getting caught in these scramble positions where maybe he defends it and he defends a double leg, and then he's on a single. He gets his whizzer, and then he's starting to get thrown. He pulls guard. There's so many outcomes here.
Yeah.
But if it does stay on the feet, I do tend to favor Ricky Simone just a little bit. And this isn't my most confident pick here, not by any means, but I think I'm going to go Ricky Simone by unanimous decision.
Okay. So I see Ricky as he's like I have a weird feeling that the second he starts getting touched up even a little bit, he's going to start shooting. Because I just don't think he can I don't think he wants to keep it standing for 3 rounds. As much as he knows he has to, I don't think he wants to.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he will shoot for a takedown, but let's say Ronnie shoots. He gets stuffed. They stand up there against the cage. Does Ricky try to flip position and put him against the cage? Does Ricky push off immediately? That's where I'm like, because Ronnie, he doesn't need to get you on the mat. He will shoot for a heel hook while you're standing up against the cage.
Yeah.
Drop down for a knee bar. And Ronnie is not the best wrestler, but neither is Ricky. Ricky gave up position multiple times in both fights that he's had in the UFC. He got taken down in both fights. Yahya is not bad. He's not a bad wrestler. He is not a bad striker. I believe Ricky is the better striker, more than likely. I think Ricky's just a little green. That's really all it is. I just think he's going to make an amateur mistake at some point in a clinch or a grappling exchange, and I think he's going to get caught. Because this is a blue belt versus a black belt. Realize that. You can be the best wrestler in the world. If you stay on the mat for a certain amount of time with a black belt, you're going to get caught. Almost always. Ricky's a good wrestler. but I think Ronnie's BJJ is better than Ricky's wrestling, and I think Ronnie will put him against the cage at some point. And I think it's a matter of time before this ends up on the mat. And when it does, I favor Ronnie in almost every single exchange. And I'm going to go Ronnie by sub. I really am. I mean, in my honest opinion, Ricky should only be 1-1 in the UFC. He got beyond lucky in the Merab Dvalishvili fight. Like, I can't say how lucky he was because I can't put it into words. And I know you know what I'm talking about with that guillotine. Like,
oh Lord.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, now if this was Ronnie fighting Merab, I'd probably pick Merab, to be honest with you. But Ricky Simone, he's still a kid, or at least he looks like one. He's still a kid. He's still green. He's fighting a vet. And we have a small sample size with Ricky. That's the problem. He's only had 2 UFC fights, and I mean, I'm not trying to talk for everybody, but he's basically 1-1. And he gives up position a lot. He doesn't have a ton of power. He doesn't look comfortable striking. Neither does Ronnie, but I'm going to go with the veteran in this one. This betting line is probably accurate. Like Ricky's minus 110, Ronnie's plus 100. That's the one I'm looking at. I am going to go Ronnie. Ronnie's cardio is in question. If Ronnie wins, it almost has to be a finish.
I agree.
If Ricky wins, it could be anything, pretty much. Probably not a submission, but I could see a TKO or a decision. Ronnie doesn't really get finished, so that concerns me about Ricky's ability to finish him. And if Ricky's not wrestling, that takes away like the biggest decision-winning tool out of someone's arsenal, especially if he's going to be pinned against the cage a lot. So I'm going to go Ronnie by submission. But the method of the people we're picking, like how they win, doesn't really matter. But as long as they win, that's what matters. But I am going to go Ronnie.
Yeah.
I'm picking the underdog in this one. I like him. So now, co-main event up tonight, we have Anderson Silva versus Israel Adesanya. If you could make a copy of Anderson Silva and subtract 20 years from his age, this is basically what we'd have. I think Israel is a better striker than Silva ever was, but Silva is a better grappler than Israel probably will ever be. In this matchup, I like Israel a lot. I don't like him as much as some people, though. Some people think Israel's going to go in there in the first exchange. He's going to crack him. I don't even know why people even think that, because Anderson Silva takes almost no damage like throughout the course of a fight, especially as of recently. His only knockout loss really was to Weidman when he was ducking his chin and like putting his hands down. And Israel is an amazing striker, world class. I'm just not sure if he's going to be super aggressive against Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Israel by decision. I mean, this fight's pretty easy to break down. Anderson's older. He's slower. I don't know if his chin is worse, probably, but we haven't really seen it.
I mean, the only times I've seen him KO'd is against Weidman, man.
Exactly. And that's because he gave it to him.
Exactly.
Israel should win this by decision, especially the home field advantage. And I think the biggest thing Anderson is going to struggle with is actually the variety of things Israel throws. He throws elbows, he throws knees, he throws switch kicks, he throws crazy jabs. I'm talking crazy jabs. Anderson I can almost guarantee you he will be shooting for a takedown against the cage, or he'll be clinching at some point early on, probably. I don't think Anderson's going to sit there and try to knock him out at range for a long period of time because he's not going to be successful at it. If he does start having success striking, that is extremely concerning. for Israel because, in theory, Israel should go in there and win handedly. Maybe not a knockout, but he should win this pretty clear cut. So I am going to go Israel by decision. I think it's going to be entertaining. I think Anderson will probably be talking smack at some point in the middle of the fight. Israel probably will too. And I believe Israel is going to win this fight by decision. What about you?
So, just to start off with this fight, I'm a huge Anderson Silva fan.
Me too.
If I had it in my way, Silva would beat Adesanya, he'd beat Whitaker or Gastelum, and he'd retire on top of the middleweight title.
Huh.
But we're not writing stories here, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Anderson's 43 years old. This fight happens. You take 8 years off Anderson's age, and this could be like one of the greatest fights in UFC history. Okay?
Absolutely.
But I think the biggest problem Anderson's going to face, I don't even think it's the variety of strikes. He's faced people who has a great variety of strikes like that. Maybe not the same punching power, but with kicks, Vitor Belfort, people like that, you know? I don't think it's the variety. It's how long Adesanya is compared to Anderson. Okay?
Yeah.
It's how long he is. He can really strike at range of him. But one thing Silva does have going in his favor, he's really never faced someone who he doesn't have to worry about a takedown threat from.
That's absolutely.
Everyone who wants to fight Silva wants to take him down, wants to bring him to the ground. And that's what Anderson prepares for, you know? He can't really unleash his striking because of that, because you're always worried about the takedown. I don't think we need to worry about a takedown from Adesanya. But Adesanya should be looking out for a takedown from Anderson. I think if Anderson is to win this fight, he needs to really utilize that clinch. Throw those beautiful knees he throws, the elbows from the clinch. That knee hit Michael Bisping with was absolutely beautiful. And I think that fight should have been stopped.
Yeah, probably.
But I think that's the best Anderson Silva's looked in recent years. And that's like his one highlight movement.
Yep.
You go back and look at that fight against Derek Brunson, that's sad to watch, you know? But I don't think Derek Brunson got Anderson Silva out of bed like Israel Adesanya does. There's so much more on the line with this fight. Okay? There's a promised title shot, whatever that means in UFC nowadays. Like, who knows if that's actually true, you know? But Anderson Silva has stated that if he wins this fight, he will be fighting for the title next.
Yep.
So Anderson Silva's out there training his absolute best for this. And same thing with Israel Adesanya. Anderson's got to the point where he's brought in someone who's beat Israel twice in kickboxing.
Yeah, it's true.
But the other thing I'm worried about with Izzy, and we all know what Izzy brings to the table with his great striking and his multi-user striking, his range control, and just his patience too. But Anderson Silva brings an aura with him whenever anyone fights him. There's certain people who do that. Same thing with Fedor Emelianenko. The same thing with all these big legends like that. Jose Aldo even. I think part of the reason why Moicano lost to Jose Aldo is because he was like starstruck almost, you know? That's Jose Aldo in front of you at this point. Too much respect. And we could see the same thing with Izzy this weekend possibly. I don't know if anyone watched the post weigh-in stuff, but Anderson's motivated, man. He was crying out there. Everything. Israel almost started crying last night.
He fell into it.
Yes. And that's something you don't like to see. And I know I'm hyping up Anderson a lot right now. And as I should, he's probably the greatest of all time. But Israel should win this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Anderson got knocked out. I haven't really seen it. I think he still has a chin. But I wouldn't be surprised over 3 rounds with such a young striker. But I think Adesanya wins this by decision.
Yeah, I agree completely. Both have a good eye for this kind of thing. If there is a knockout, it's probably going to be when Silva's tired in the late second or early third.
Yeah.
Because as far as I'm concerned, Izzy doesn't really get tired.
I mean, but you've seen fighters be this old and still go that time. And 3 rounds for Anderson shouldn't be anything. He defended his title 11 times in 5 rounders.
Absolutely.
That's absolutely insane, you know? So I don't think 3-round cardio is going to be bad for Anderson. And if you look at him over the years, his body has not changed at all. He looks exactly the same.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
you've seen people at his age compete. Look at Daniel Cormier, he's coming up on 40. Dan Henderson was fighting wicked late into his career, you know?
Hmm.
So I don't think the cardio should be that much of an issue.
I think it's going to be a high-level striking chess match. I just think Israel's better.
Uh, Absolutely. It might not even be that he's better at this point. It's just he has the youth on him too, you know, man.
Yeah, the
But I
length.
will say,
Yeah,
if Anderson does knock out Israel Adesanya somehow tonight, I will be going wild.
absolutely. We'll be in my house for it.
Absolutely.
All right, now we got the main event: Kelvin Gastelum versus Robert Whitaker. 5 rounds, middleweight title. Kelvin beat Jacare. He beat a lot of people to get to this spot. Um,
Yeah,
Robert's just
he's really
looked.
only dropped to like Chris Weidman, really.
Yeah, Robert. He's beat everyone since he came to middleweight. As far as I believe, that's the statistic. He's beat everybody. He
Just about.
Anybody that can go almost an hour in cage time with Yoel Romero, that's a dangerous man, man. So
It is.
I'm gonna let you start this off because I know you have a hot take on it. So go ahead.
Really do. So here's the thing. And even after watching the workouts yesterday, the open mat workouts, I saw that Robert Whitaker was really boxing from the outside yesterday. Boxing from the outside. And that's exactly what he needs to do to counter Calvin, okay? We all know what Calvin's going to do. He's going to come in close. He wants to make it a firefight, okay? He wants to get inside. He's like boxing in a phone booth. Big overhands. But Whitaker likes that too.
Mm-hmm.
But usually when you see Whitaker set up his combos, he has very good footwork moving side to side, in and out. But he'll dip in, he'll throw a jab, and then he'll come up with either a cross or an overhand there and then dip out but sideways, you know? So it's very good footwork. But closing that distance that often with someone like Gastelum can get him caught like he got against Romero.
Absolutely.
And another thing I look at, anyone who goes 10 rounds with Yoel Romero, especially after that last fight, I think Whitaker got dropped 4 times, maybe 3 or 4 times.
3 or 4. Yeah, that was bad.
Nearly finished. Okay. I think that might have did something and taken some out of Robert Whitaker. A part of him still in that octagon with Yoel Romero after that fight. And it's crazy to see.
Yeah, that's the fight. Those 2 fights that he had. I don't know if everyone watching actually watched the entirety of both those fights, but you could tell Robert was a changed man after that second fight. He didn't look the same.
Absolutely. When it comes down to wrestling here, Calvin Gastelum isn't the best wrestler, but he has wrestling credentials, you know. He can get a takedown. Robert Whitaker has fantastic takedown defense and takedowns himself offensively if he wants to go there.
If he
He's
wants,
actually
yeah, he could. He could take him
he's
down.
an alternate for the Australian Olympic team, you know, for freestyle wrestling. And but the way I see this going down, man, I don't think Robson's gonna hold up here. Every time I've seen Calvin fight, he's even cracked Chris Weidman, you know, someone he lost to. Chris Weidman weathered that storm though. And I just don't think Whitaker is going to be able to after a while. I think those 10 rounds with Yoel really changed him.
Uh-huh.
And that Gastelum's very live here and can actually crack Whitaker. Now, this is me going by what I think's going to happen and him having a chin. Every right of me, if this goes down the way it should, I think Whitaker should win this fight and handily. He's a 2-1 favorite just about for that reason, you know?
A little bit more, yeah.
Yeah, as the lines are starting to close. But I think Gastelum's very live here and can win by knockout. I'm going to go first round knockout by Calvin Gastelum here.
I like that pick. I do. I see where you're coming from. It makes perfect sense when you say it like that. Um, so Robert Whitaker, every time he fights someone that isn't grappling him, the fight almost always ends inside the distance. Same thing with Kelvin. So let's look at Kelvin's path as to how he got here. He beat Jacare, that was a close fight. I actually thought Jacare won, but
Yeah, it was a
Kelvin
close fight.
Kelvin got the nod, so can't really take it from him. Kelvin absolutely flatlined Michael Bisping in Singapore, I believe it was.
That's Bisping after what was it, 14 days after that GSP fight, though? There's no way he should have been cleared to go in there.
No, Bisping should not have been in there, but it showed that Kelvin, anytime he gets in the pocket, he's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And every time Whitaker got hurt by Romero was in the pocket. Every single time. It would click.
Absolutely.
Whitaker, I think he's going to struggle keeping Gastelum away because Gastelum knows he has to get inside. Gastelum also, that Weidman fight, even though Gastelum lost, he lost to a BJJ black belt with amazing wrestling. I mean, Weidman took down Romero like 2 or 3 times, so just put that into perspective.
He did.
But Kelvin doesn't have to worry about that here. He just has to worry about striking only for 25 minutes with a guy that's going to be bouncing around.
And Kelvin's chin's so tested, too.
Kelvin,
at 170, he took Tyron Woodley's biggest shots.
Yeah, Kelvin has
something.
Kelvin has a good chin. Let's say, in theory, this fight got to the mat. Kelvin is actually a BJJ black belt under Eddie Bravo. I found that out recently. He's actually a black belt. I thought he was a brown belt or something. But Robert, I haven't seen him in trouble on the mat once. Even when he was on the ground with Jacare and stuff like that, his ground and pound is very good. He held Romero down. He was in Romero's guard. He was just blasting Romero in the first fight. Whitaker should, in his whole career, he probably won't have any problems on the mat.
Yeah.
Probably same thing with Gastelum as from here on out. Whitaker is probably one of the best strikers the UFC's ever seen. But every time someone gets in the pocket, man, he either circles away immediately or he gets hurt, as of recently. Kelvin.
Yeah.
The size disadvantage is what's kind of scaring me because Robert is way bigger than Kelvin. This fight does not go 5 rounds. There's just no way. Someone's getting hurt, and if someone's getting hurt, I'm gonna lean Whitaker is the one that gets hurt. Probably. Whitaker could hurt Gastelum. That's not out of the question. Whitaker has
Definitely.
kicks. He has an amazing jab.
I think he mixes up better than Kelvin does. Kelvin's more just boxing, while you can get kicks from Whitaker.
Yeah, Kelvin is basically a pressure boxer.
Yeah.
Whitaker is basically a aggressive point fighting kickboxer, if that makes sense. He doesn't go for the kill all the time, but he can if he wants to. Let me actually look at Whitaker's last couple fights. See how many ended in TKO. I think it was a lot. Yeah, he finished Jacare. He finished Brunson. He didn't finish Rafael on the title. That doesn't count, really. It's not. I don't want to go that far back. Finish Brunson. Finish Jacare. I do not even know how he survived that second fight.
No.
And I'm seeing a theme with main events that they're ending so fast.
Very early recently.
And I don't know why. I don't know if it's coincidence or if people are just are getting more aggressive. I don't think this fight goes 5 rounds. I'm gonna say that right now. If I'm right, Gastelum is more likely to get the finish. If they fight 100 times, I'm probably gonna pick Whitaker to win 50 of those times. So I am gonna lean Whitaker. I almost don't want to, but Whitaker has not let me down yet. And against a guy in Gastelum who didn't beat Romero. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to lean Whitaker. Now, there's a statistic. My buddy here, BBG, almost never gets main event picks wrong. So,
Absolutely not, dude.
So this might bite me in the ass, but I'm going to lean Whitaker in the sense that I actually think he could TKO Gastelum, because Gastelum, the thing about Gastelum, he's never faced anybody like Whitaker. That's kind of the problem.
Yeah.
That's the only that's one of the biggest disadvantages Kelvin has is size, and he's never faced a striker as good as Whitaker. It's the same. It's almost the same thing. It's almost like somewhat of the same situation as Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva has not faced anyone nearly as good at striking as Israel. Same thing here. Kelvin, he beat a washed-up Bisping, barely beat Jacare, and he lost to Chris Weidman. Granted, he dropped Chris Weidman at the end of round 1, and if there was 10 more seconds, he probably would have got the finish.
Yeah, dude, correct. Weidman was out there, that's about.
Yeah, I just think only using boxing could work against Whitaker. I'm just not exactly sure Gastelum's the guy to make it work. And if you go super aggressive, if you're super aggressive against Whitaker, man, he can turn up and crack you.
And Whitaker's super underrated, man. I mean, he could very well make me look like a fool tonight for picking against him. And more power to him if he does, you know?
Yeah, and I could say the same thing. Gastelum, he could make me look like an idiot. He could easily the one time they get in the pocket, it's over. And I've been seeing that everybody who goes in the pocket is getting these finishes. Amanda Nunes, Marlon Moraes, Henry Cejudo. They've been getting these finishes quick.
Yeah. There's one big thing we need to look out for, too, and it's been pointed out in a lot of photos of Kelvin Gastelum. He has ringworm or staph infection on his lip and on the back of his neck.
Yeah.
And the antibiotics you need to take those do drain you a little bit, you know? You won't be as like motivated to do things, and physically you won't always be there to perform at your highest level.
Yeah.
So that's something that could definitely come into effect. We saw it kind of happen to Kevin Lee against Tony Ferguson, in my opinion. Kevin Lee doesn't usually get that tired throughout fights. Like, yeah, he's not known for the best gas tank. But for what was happening, I think that staph played a part in that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to attribute that to his massive weight cut as well.
Yeah.
And it's also Tony who tires out everybody. So, yeah, I see where you're coming from with ringworm. We also don't know how long he's had ringworm.
That's true.
I've never had it before, luckily. Have you? I think you have.
So, yeah, I've had ringworm. I've had impetigo before, just from like wrestling and stuff, man. And like, it's like nothing too bad. Like, it's just kind of like annoying to have on you. And you take your antibiotics, and it's gonna show up there, but it's not contagious after.
Yeah.
Like once you start getting those antibiotics in you, and like if it's like smaller things like impetigo or something like that, there's just cream you can put on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good lesson. Shower after you train.
Absolutely. I wouldn't buy too much into ringworm. I wouldn't buy into ringworm affecting him. I mean, he's world championship caliber. Like, I don't think it'll really make or break his fight. In theory, it could. It could make him like that surface. I mean, it's literally on his chin. So I wonder if that makes him more sore on his chin already. So maybe take shots a little weirder. But I am gonna go Whitaker. I know it kind of that was a long breakdown, but I'm gonna go Whitaker. And a lot of people are going Whitaker decision. I actually think he might overwhelm Kelvin.
Yeah, I don't think Kelvin does well later on in the rounds. You know, he was pretty tired after that Jacare fight. That was 3 rounds.
That third round, the Jacare fight, he was moving like my grandma, man. So yeah, I'm gonna go Whitaker. So let's get into our. So that's the full fight breakdown for all the fights. So let's get into our most confident picks. Let's. I'll give you
Yeah,
one. I'll give you one. You give me one, and then we'll both agree on one.
absolutely. So I think a confident pick here is definitely Montana De La Rosa. No matter
Okay.
which way you look at it, I don't see any way possible. Well, I tend to say that, but with my luck, it will happen. I just don't see where she gets beat
Yeah,
personally.
I agree. I agree with that. My confident pick will probably be Israel. I don't really see how we
Yeah.
lose this. And then if we both had to agree on another one,
Um.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah. I think there's when you look at pricing, especially with DraftKings and even the way the odds are set up, there's some big underdogs in this card who can definitely win these fights.
Yeah, there's been a theme that a lot of really good DraftKings players are saying they're having struggle or they're struggling to pick underdogs to put in their lineup. I find it kind of easy, man.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Lando being a confident
I
pick?
think Lando should be a good pick. The problem I have with Lando though, he hasn't shown us much to say it's very confident, but with what we've seen from his abilities, he should be able to win this fight confidently.
He has the power. He has the agility. I I have to assume I have to assume he put his foot down and said, "I'm not fucking losing the next one. Like I'm not making a dumb mistake. I'm not getting tired. I'm not throwing a spinning kick." And dude, he's going against a guy that you could give trouble to. I could give trouble to. And
Yeah.
on the block could give trouble. Marcos Rosa. Marcos is taller and longer, but I mean that only goes so far. So those are probably our three confident picks that we'd recommend: Adesanya, Montana De La Rosa, and Vannata. Who's your least confident pick?
Uh, uh Probably Ricky Simone. No,
Yeah,
not Ricky Simone. Yeah, no, Ricky, yeah.
Ricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, my least confident pick is probably Jimmy Crute. To be honest with you.
Yeah. And that's the thing, dude. I have more confidence in Kelvin winning than I do in Ricky winning and not getting subs.
Yeah, who's our who's both of ours least confident pick? Man, I
Um,
think I'm gonna go with Johnathan Martinez.
yeah, probably. Dude, those fight press prelims are they're hit or miss, man. There's not as much film you can watch in these guys.
Yeah,
And there's so many things with newcomers in the UFC, especially.
it's a big coin flip, man. A big example I can give you is when Corey Sandhagen was caught in that triangle armbar in the first 10 seconds of the fight, and then he came back and smoked him. Like,
Absolutely.
imagine having money on Ayuri Alcantara to finish him or just to beat him in that fight, and then he lets go of two submissions at once, and then gets ground and pounded for the rest of the fight and loses. That's what I'm talking about, dude.
Yeah.
So, yeah, any DraftKings plays you like? Let's hurry this one
Um,
up.
yeah, definitely. So I think lineup wise, let me pull up my DraftKings app real quick, and this because I have a couple lineups here.
Yep. So while he's doing that, I'll give you my must play. And if I'm giving you a must play on DraftKings, I would probably I like Kelvin Gastelum a lot. He's cheap. He has good upside to win. It's a 5 round fight if it goes 5 rounds, and I think he's more likely to finish this fight as opposed to Whitaker. And yeah, and even if he loses, you still get 35, 40 points out of him at 7,300. That's a perfect lineup filler.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? Sam Alvey is relatively cheap too, and I think he has very good potential on winning.
Yeah,
He's marked at 7-9, which isn't bad. He's 33-11 too. And he's going against Jimmy Crute, who's at the price range of 8,300, but that's an undefeated guy who's really getting tested by a veteran here,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So who do you agree with me on for another good pick?
Um,
I like Montana a lot.
yeah, dude, Montana's a good
She has the
pick.
wrestling upside, the first round finish upside. She's bigger, stronger, probably not faster, but she'll have more control. She doesn't have a takedown in her first two fights, and I get that, and that might scare some people off, but she didn't even really have a chance to shoot a takedown because they were doing it for her.
Yeah.
And she submitted Ostovich. Ostovich has decent BJJ, not the best, but probably better
No,
than.
she is offensively a BJJ.
Yeah, defensively, she's not as tuned. And yeah.
Yeah,
So
man.
those are the three DraftKings picks we're giving you. Hope you guys liked it. This was our first one ever. Between this video and our next video, there will be massive improvements as well as organizational changes. So
Absolutely, guys.
I'm Alex. That's BBG. Good luck on your picks, your bets, your DraftKings lineups, and hope you guys tune in to see the main event, co-main event. It should be good. Should be high action. And I know me and BBG, along with a bunch of my other friends, will all be at my house watching it later tonight. So, yep.
What's the card for next week?
Cain Velasquez, Francis Ngannou.
Oh God, dude, that's a good one. We'll have to do some research on that.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna have some hot takes there.
Definitely. Till next time, guys.
Yep. All right. See you.